have you gotten a chance to speak with your mother? Uh, uh, what are her whereabouts? What is her state of mind like right now? Any information that you can share with our viewers?
I spoke with my mother yesterday. I have not had a chance to speak with her today. She's in Delhi. She's in good spirits. She's very disappointed at the situation. She's very disappointed at the people of Bangladesh that after all that she has done for the country, transforming it from poverty-stricken, poor, failing country, what was considered the most corrupt country in the world, and she turned it around. She made it into a developing country, middle-income country. Extreme poverty was eliminated. The country was modernizing, and it was considered a rising tiger in Asia. And so, for this group of people, and I can assure you, it's not all the people of Bangladesh. Bangladesh has 175 million people. What you're seeing on the streets is just a small, tiny fraction of that population. So it's this vocal minority that has unfortunately demanded this, and now, well, they've gotten what they want. So now,
In your
you are
conversation
shortening
yesterday,
the images.
did you get a chance to, or was there any sort of reference to what exactly happened in those final few hours for her to sign the resignation papers and then, of course, take that flight to India? Can you describe for us what exactly happened? What did she tell you?
I've been speaking to her every day before that. She had planned to resign prior to that. She had planned to make an address to the nation, resign, and then set in motion the constitutional procedure for a new government. But however, then the mob started to march. They declared they would march and attack the prime minister's residence. And as soon as they were probably once they had crossed into Dhaka and were headed towards the prime minister's residence, that is when she left, and she did not have time to make an address. But she had decided on resigning anyway, a day prior.
But tell me this, Mr. Wazid, was she threatened to resign by the folks in the army? Was she not given a choice? Because there were also media reports doing the rounds that she was upset with some sections of the army leadership that they were not able to quell these protests, despite the fact that the courts rescinded on that whole quota decision.
Not at all. She did not. There was no pressure. The army was fully supportive, in control. It was her decision because she did not want to use force when this armed mob, was moving towards Dhaka. The only way at that point to stop it is to use force, and she did not want bloodshed. She did not want a massacre of students, and that is why she had decided on her own to step down before that, and because she had given in to all their demands. We had changed the quotas, we had reduced quotas, we had formed a judicial commission to investigate all the deaths. We had suspended police officers who used excessive force. We gave in to all of their demands, but it seemed that no matter what demand we accepted or accommodated, they kept escalating their demands. So then, once all their demands were met, even for justice, then they escalated the demand to resignation.
So
And
you,
at that point, my mother did not want a massacre of students.
So you said that you believe that this is a tiny minority, a vocal minority. This does not represent in any form or fashion the majority view or the majority opinion of the people of Bangladesh. Who are these people then? Who are these tiny minority and who's behind them?
Well, I mean, it's not a tiny minority, but it is the minority. It's the minority that has that boycotted the last few elections. Their supporters. Then is the other minority. I mean, in any country, in any democratic system, you're not going to have a party in power winning 100% of the vote. That is impossible. So, unfortunately, democracy is you participate in elections. If you don't win, you accept the results and wait for the next elections. These people don't want to do that. They've been trying to disrupt the elections for the last three elections. Two elections prior, they conducted arson attacks, firebombing on civilians. Hundreds of civilians were killed, thousands were burnt. So this is the same group. This is our opposition, the BNP Jamaat. They provided the muscle. And you have our so-called intellectuals who tried to take over power 17 years ago in the interim government then, and they're the ones now. But you look at the situation. This is, if you call them citizens, you're looking at the images. I'm looking at images on your
Yeah.
that you're playing on your screen. This does not look like civil society. This does not look like normal citizens. This looks just like terrorists and vandals. It's
When,
complete anarchy.
when you saw those images of the statues of your grandfather, we're just playing out those pictures being desecrated and vandalized in the manner that they were, what were the thoughts that were running through your head?
My thoughts are that my family has done enough for this country. My family has been through this situation twice before. This is the third time. First time was the coup, three coups essentially. And if the people of this of Bangladesh are this ungrateful, then they get the leadership they deserve. Right now, what they're getting is what the people of Bangladesh deserve. They wanted this.
I want to ask you about the here and now and what the immediate future looks like for your mother. So she's here in India. We're given to understand for a few days until whether it's the UK or any other European country decides to give her some form of political refuge. What would be her sort of first choice country in that sense, where she would go and want to spend the rest of her time?
We have not discussed that. No decision has been made in that regard. And the rumors that she has applied for asylum are untrue. She has not applied for asylum anywhere.
So, where will she be for the rest of her time? Would she want to be here in India or any other country?
That I don't know. That has not been decided.
Have
We have not
you
said.
have you approached the Indian government seeking some kind of refuge? After all, your mother was here for I think about 6 years back in the 70s after the first coup that you referred to. So would she be open to staying in India if the government of India were willing to grant her that?
I'm sure she would, yes. But
But
I don't know. I have not discussed that with her.
but you are not sure whether she wants to stay in India or whether she wants to go to some Western country.
Right. Well, I think it would most likely be a place where she has family. So, I live here with, I have my daughter here in London. My aunt lives with her daughters and, my aunt's daughters and their families are there. So, yes, I believe those would be possible choices. Yes.
So it would be either the UK or it would be the US, you're saying.
Or no, it could be India, but I honestly don't know. I do not want to misspeak
Okay,
on that because that
fair
has
enough.
not been
I don't
discussed.
want to press too much on that, but I do want to know that for some time now, whether it is the political opposition in Bangladesh, the BNP and the Jamaat that you refer to, and even some Western countries had been accusing your mother of being almost autocratic, suppressing the political opposition, going after bloggers and journalists and civil society folks. So now they're saying this has come to pass, that what she was accused of is now what she is being faced with. How do you respond to that?
With regards to democracy and elections, if you look at the allegation of the last elections that there were mass arrests, well, if the people arrested were the ones who were involved in arson attacks in the previous election. So if the only way those arrests were made to ensure the safety of the common citizens and to ensure a peaceful election. We did not want arson attacks again. We did not want thousands of people burnt and hundreds burnt alive. That is what happened. And if people want to accuse my mother of being an autocrat, that is completely untrue. Yes, there were mistakes made with bloggers. We had made a new law. Unfortunately, that law wasn't perfect, and the police started enforcing the law vigorously, and we responded immediately. Our government instructed the police and law enforcement to scale back enforcing the law, not for minor violations, and then we updated the law itself. So our government, no law, nothing is going to be perfect in a system, but anytime there is a mistake, our government fixed it. So no, our government wasn't cracking down on freedom of speech. Our government wasn't cracking down on the opposition. Our government was cracking down on the violent opposition, on BNP Jamaat, on Jamaat, that is a terrorist organization who conducted terror attacks and assassinations when they were in power. They attacked my mother. Hundreds of people killed. They even had attacked the then UK High Commissioner. They used to regularly attack minorities. And so, yes, my mother did suppress them.
I
But
do
how
want
do you
to
ensure
ask
security?
you, there are a lot of theories floating around social media about, this being the handiwork of the deep state in the US. Some saying this is a ISI plus China connection that has undone your mother from her political position of power. Do you give credence to any of this?
I'm sure there's some involvement. I don't have any hard evidence, but right from the beginning of the protests, they were incited deliberately. Initially, the protests were peaceful. Initially, there was no confrontation with our police. Our police were actually providing security for the protesters. But on one night, I believe it was July 15th, uh, in the middle of the night at Dhaka University, you had some group marching, chanting, "We are Rajakar, we are Rajakar," which is the militants during our War of Independence that slaughtered civilians. And this is akin to marching in the middle of night in Jerusalem, chanting, "We are Nazis, we are Nazis." So naturally, some of our students reacted. There were confrontations. The police, in trying to stop the violence, unfortunately used excessive force. And then the protesters used that as an excuse to demand, to escalate the violence. And I think so that was a key turning point, and I believe that was incited by someone deliberately to inflame the situation to prevent our government from, because we had accepted the students' demands for quotas at that point.
Who was inciting them?
That we don't know. That is the million-dollar question. Nobody knows. Nobody knows the identity of those people.
Do you think they were being incited by domestic elements or elements from the outside?
Either is possible.
But you wouldn't rule out the possibility of a foreign hand or
Not at
foreign
all. I
hands.
wouldn't rule that out at all.
The US in particular, and I was here at the G20 when your mother was here along with your sister, and they met with President Joe Biden. The United States has been pretty critical about your mother's ways when it comes to democracy, freedom of expression, the opposition, and so on and so forth. Were there conversations that you've had in this regard, and what is it that your mother had to say in her defense about it? Or do you believe that this was some kind of canard being spread against her regime?
No, of course, mistakes were made. Mistakes are always made, but that's the difference is ours was a responsible government. People in the government who made mistakes, we made changes. We made changes in policy. We made changes in law. We made changes in implementation. We changed instructions to the police. And those who did use excessive force, those who did commit extrajudicial killings, we brought them to justice. We had one former minister's son. He's in prison for murder because he was involved in extrajudicial killings while he was in the police. And this is a minister's son. So to accuse our government, we cannot, yes, individuals might have gone overboard, but our government brought justice. And so to constantly accuse our government of human rights violations, of cracking down on freedom is completely wrong. If no mistakes are allowed, if you cannot blame everything on my mother. If someone lower down makes a mistake and our government corrects it right away. But that is what was being done.
Will your mother ever go back to Bangladesh?
No, she has no interest. Seeing the desecration of my grandfather's statues, seeing my grandfather's home and museum where my entire family was slaughtered, being burned to the ground, my mother and I, my whole family, we are quite fed up with the people of Bangladesh. If this is what the people of Bangladesh want, good luck to them.
And neither you nor your sister would be interested in any kind of roll back home in Bangladesh after seeing what you've seen yesterday?
After seeing this, no, not really.
Okay. All right. Mr. Sajeeb Wazed, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and your thoughts. And yes, of course, our thoughts are with you and your family and your mother. And we'll be on top of this story as well here for our viewers on CNN News 18 to try and see what happens next. Of course, right now, she is in an undisclosed safe location here in Delhi. We're given to understand for a few days and then subsequently onwards to another destination.